It's time to punch crime in the face. Hey, I'm K-Wing and welcome to Arkham Wednesdays, the show where we dive into the depths of Gotham's citizens and beyond. Today, because you, the fans, requested it, we're looking at the Were-Bat, Man-Bat. You know, because he's kind of like a mutated were thing. A Bronze Age 1970s DC Comics creation. I need to add, I never knew that Robert Kirkland Langstrom has appeared in more than 144 comics. That's a lot. I gotta say though, that's a lot of stories. I mean, how can you get a dude that's a mutated bat creature into 144 comics? I mean, he's only in 2 episodes of Batman the Animated Series, which we'll talk about later in this video, no worries. I'm trying not to bring up TS too much. But the guy has faced off against Batman, Superman, all the Robins, Nightwing, oh yeah. Even Stephanie Brown ran into the Were-Bat in the sewers. You know, I think I'm gonna coin that term now, Were-Bat. It just sounds cool, Were-Bat. As you know, the character has never appeared in the Arkham games other than by mention, though he has been speculated by fans of the series for some time to be in the game. In fact, during the scene in Arkham City where people thought Man-Bat was flying around the church tower, this of course proved to be Batman fleeing the Joker's time bomb thing, to further mess with fans in Arkham Origins because they love to troll people. Alfred has a lengthy conversation in-game with Bruce about the giant Bat King creature, so enjoy the following clip.
I've seen a rather large bat in the cave, sir. Do take care not to anger it.
I wasn't planning to.
Good. With everything occurring tonight, the last thing we need is a pest problem.
I'm sure it's harmless, Alfred.
You haven't seen the creature.
Alfred, how are you holding up?
Fine, considering the circumstances.
Looking for your bat friend?
It's just, I can find no precedent for this king bat, as I've taken to calling it.
The Philippines are home to some of the largest bats in the world.
And how, pray tell, did one of them wind up here?
That's a mystery I'll have to solve another day. What's wrong, Alfred? You look upset.
Because I am upset. I'd set out a roast chicken for you, but that damned bat took it. Oh, the whole thing. It returned later to deposit the bones. The nerve of that creature.
Strange. Meat's not meant to be part of their diet.
Oh, wonderful. So now we're playing host to a carnivorous megabat for which there exists no zoological record.
Maybe you've discovered a new species?
This is no laughing matter.
If you say so.
I'm glad you weren't around earlier, sir. The king bat decided to grace us with the gift of guano. The size and stench were unlike anything I've ever encountered.
Did you collect a specimen for analysis?
Actually, I did. If you won't investigate this horror, I will.
I'm looking forward to reading your results.
Maintain that tone of yours and you'll be tasting them instead.
Continuing your studies?
I've done all I can to rid us of the vile king bat. To no avail. I fear he's declared this his kingdom. We are but his subjects, forced to live in constant fear.
You're not really afraid of it, are you?
And what if I am?
It's just a bat, Alfred.
It is most assuredly not just a bat. You'll see. And then you'll wonder why you ever doubted me. There's been a breakthrough, sir. The bat, well, it brought me a gift. I think. A dead rat. Ugh, disgusting. Still, I believe it to be a peace offering.
Congratulations.
As I recall, there was a time you weren't very fond of bats yourself.
True, but I grew out of it.
It appears the King Bat and I have come to an arrangement. I provide him with sustenance, and he keeps his distance.
I've got to say, Alfred, you've got me curious about our friend here. When things are back to normal, I'll see about capturing the guy.
You'll do no such thing.
Why not? He could make a good sidekick, or mascot.
He is a living creature, Master Bruce, and as such deserves the same respect you afford even the basest of criminals. You'll leave him be, or else.
All right. I'll keep my distance. I promise.
Alrighty, so you know what time it is? It's lore time! Were-Bat first appeared in Detective Comics number 400, I think, and I know he was created by Frank Robbins and Neil Adams, which Neil Adams is awesome. Unlike his later incarnations, Kirk Langstrom actually grew up idolizing superheroes, especially the Batman. When he was an adult, he moved from Chicago to Gotham and attended the university in Gotham. In college, Kirk met his future bride, Francine Lee. Not long after getting his degree, Kirk got a job at the Gotham Museum working with, well, bats, because he's a nocturnal mammals expert guy. Secretly, though, he began working on a serum to give him the abilities of a bat, because it seemed like a good idea at the time. In theory, he thought he could fight crime like his heroes, but apparently he didn't watch enough monster films, because usually, yeah, it doesn't work out that well. Kirk sampled the serum on himself because he was low on funds, and, you know, he's seen other scientists do that when you don't have a guinea pig, right? And, well, yeah, it didn't go so good. Now, while he did develop echolocation, you know, the bat sonar stuff, he also ended up, well, you know, turning into the bat creature. I feel really bad for Francine right about now, folks. Elsewhere, the Batman has run into a gang of thieves called the Blackout Gang. And clever name, right? Well, they use a type of equipment that renders them invisible, so even with this ability, Batman still gets the drop on them because he's Batman. Keep in mind, these guys are virtually invisible too, and you can't even really see their footsteps, and Batman still beats them because he's awesome. Unable to continue the heist, the gang escapes because it can't be Batman. Though one of the crooks accidentally drops a piece of equipment that renders them invisible. Batman, of course, grabs the item and returns to Wayne Tower to analyze the thing. Okay, so Wayne Tower, let me explain. After Robin went to Hudson University, Alfred and Bruce moved to Wayne Tower because they don't want to be in the house all by themselves, and they create this second Batcave underneath the tower. Or is it the Wayne Foundation building? I forget. The same idea was used in the Dark Knight Christopher Nolan films, by the way. Anyway, Bruce is able to create a device to see the bad guys and heads back to Gotham to, you know, fight crime, punch it in the face, because it's convenient to the story. So the Blackout Gang tries to steal some valuables from the Gotham Museum because, well, there's a character there that's gonna move the story. Why not? Unfortunately for them, they run into the Werebat. Yeah, I'm totally using this. I think I'm making a t-shirt. Werebat. Are you Werebat? You could be Werebat. Where am I going with this? Oh yeah. So he's still at the museum because he just notified his, you know, job about a leave of absence for health reasons. Yeah, that's it. Not, I transform into a giant bat. Am I covered under the company's policies and benefits? No. Long story short, Batman and Man-Bat team up to defeat the crooks. That's really hard to say. Batman then compliments him on the awesome disguise, and Kurt is like, "This is my face, you jerk!" Then runs off crying like a little girl. Way to go, Batman. Always so good at making friends. Some time passes in the comics, and Man-Bat wishes he could be human again. Oh, to be human, because, well, he kind of looks freaky. You know, that bat face is not going to make him friends, as Batman showed in the last comic. Learning about a new chemical in Gotham, Kirk decides to steal it to revert back to normalness. That's a word. Look it up. Sadly, the Dark Knight spoils his fun and confronts Kirk seconds before taking the antidote. When I keep talking about Kirk, I keep thinking about Captain James Kirk. Terrible impression. So when Batman shows up, Kirk gets spooked, and he drops the container and shatters it on the floor. Seriously, Bruce, you can't wait like a minute to let the guy be human again? Then you could, you know, arrest him and avoid the whole meta-human fight altogether. So yeah, Kirk, enraged, attacks Batman and almost kills him because, you know, he's so much stronger. Wanting to end it all, though, and realizing he's becoming a monster, he tries to jump out the 20-story window, and would succeed if his arms didn't evolve into bat wings. So, yeah, he then flies off looking for a place to hide. Werebat finds a nice cave to cry, though, unfortunately for him, it's the Batcave. Convenient! He and Batman fight again! Convenient again! Bruce is of course bested, though thankfully Man-Bat has smashed his head on the cave ceiling because he doesn't know the terrain all that well. How convenient. I'm turning this into a drinking game, aren't I? Basically, he gets rendered knocked out. So KO, Man-Bat. Batman then leaves to bring back someone more scary than he. That's right. He enlists Francine to his aid. And by help, I mean she's gonna totally yell at her husband. You married guys know what I mean. Enough to make a grown man cower in fear, I'll tell you that. That angry woman is scary. Still, this process proves useless. Before the antidote can be given, Man-Bat flees and is heard wailing in the distance because Francine yelled and, you know, it's scary. So, the next time we see Man-Bat, he and Francine are getting married. Aww. But because Batman was hurt that he didn't get an invite, he totally rips off Kirk's face, which terrifies the wedding party. A normal reaction, to be honest. But let me explain. Between now and the last issue, supposedly Kirk was able to develop a mask that looked human and it was latex or something, so he could then marry Francine in public. But what always bugged me about this is how the heck did he do that? I mean, in the previous issue, Batman 402, was it? His hands became wings, people. Wings! Meaning no opposable thumbs. Nothing. This is just bad writing. Bad writing. I expect better of you, Neil Adams. If you were writing this, I expected better. So back to the story. After making Francine cry, because, you know, women are very emotional and cry sometimes. Not to say guys don't cry, but girls cry a lot. Batman says sorry, and then she reveals herself to be She-Bat. And I'll never forget Batman's face when she takes off her mask. Batman's like, ah! Mrs. Werebat says she took the serum to be just like her man. If that's not true love, folks, I don't know what is. I mean, she made herself hideous to be with her dude. That is just so sickeningly sweet. I think I'm gonna barf in the corner. Should I keep that in? I'll keep that in. So the two bats then hang out in the church's belfry because, you know, that's what bats do. They hang out in belfries. Shrieking at Batman for ruining their happy once-in-a-lifetime special day, Batman then decides to be a jerk and ring the church's bell, which of course knocks out the happy couple. He then conveniently has enough antidote to make them both human again. Remember, he only knew that Kirk was the Man-Bat. He didn't know that Francine would be She-Bat, so how on earth did he have enough antidote? As he leaves the church, he waves goodbye to the happy couple and goes off into the night and cries because Batman is forever alone. But that is not the end of Man-Bat, ladies and gentlemen. For whatever reason, he keeps reverting back to Man-Bat, and Batman has to fight him throughout the 70s because they really couldn't find another way to write this character, apparently. Another twist that they did, though, was having She-Bat turn into a vampire bat in Nevada. Because apparently in the DC universe, vampires hang out in Nevada. In Nevada. Somehow Batman arrives in Las Vegas. Viva Las Vegas. Okay, I'm gonna stop now. To help stop Francine because he saw it on TV and he figured it's either Kirk or Francine that's the bat creature, so I need to go stop them, probably. He also has an epic fight with the She-Bat, and I remember that he steals a police helicopter. And he, you know, does the line like Chuck Norris did. It's okay, I'm Chuck Norris. I can steal this helicopter. He was like, I'm Batman, I'm stealing this. So yeah. Though in order to revert her back to normal, what I remember is very different, is they needed to do a blood transfusion, because the normal, you know, playing Dr. Frankenstein wasn't really gonna work. What's funny is Kirk volunteers and Batman's like, you crazy! They instead use Batman's blood, of course, because She-Bat would stay She-Bat if they use Kirk's, because that whole blood thing is gonna be really important to the story and the arc of Man-Bat later on, which I have to really hand it to the writers. Even though sometimes they did some pretty goofy things, they kept a continuity going. Like, there's a different Man-Bat thing happening, even though it's, you know, predictable plot. He turns into Man-Bat, he comes back, but there's a continuation of the tale. That's pretty awesome. So, you know, writers, that's the best I can do while I'm trying to play this game. What amazes me, though, due to Werebat's popularity, I'm having way too much fun with this series. More fun than a human being is allowed to have. Arkham Wednesdays. So yeah, where was I? Oh, so due to the character's popularity, DC gave Kirk and Man-Bat his own book in 1975, because, I don't know. The first issue, number 1, is just Man-Bat, and it had Langstrom, guess what, taking the serum again and becoming a superhero, sort of, anti-hero. What I find amazing, though, is we learn some very important things, other than, you know, the whole continuity thing, about Gotham and where it is. Because Francine is actually from Chicago, and they moved to Chicago, which puts Chicago in the DC universe, which proved that Gotham has always been in the East Coast. It is not in the Midwest. Most likely it's New Jersey, which a lot of evidence pre-52 would suggest this. Now, I really don't want to focus too much on the 70s superhero Kirk Langstrom because he's boring. He teams up with various DC heroes, like Katana and Superman and Green Lantern and whatever, but his book gets canceled, and then he becomes a sub-character in the Bat Family comics, which were so bad in the mid-70s. They're just terrible. Don't read those. They're... oh. Nothing really exciting happens in those books, so I don't really care. By the 80s, though, he definitely becomes a really bad guy. Which is odd because by the 1980s, things have actually changed for the better for the Langstroms, because Francine is actually giving birth to a little baby called Rebecca. One thing I don't understand though is why the writers want to make so much tragedy for Kirk and his family. The baby is born, but she's not healthy. She's suffering from an illness brought on by Kirk's blood. See? I told you, you should have been paying attention. It's gonna be on the quiz at the end of this video. Kirk's blood causes problems. It's like mutant stuff. So Kirk, you know, not really thinking, grabs the baby and flies to Gotham to seek Batman's help. So he flapped his arms all the way from Chicago to Gotham. I bet his arms were tired. I can't pull off that joke, can I? So, okay, he flies all the way to Gotham to seek Batman's help. Not a doctor, mind you. Not going to a hospital. Nope. I'm going to see Batman, because Batman fixes everything. Bruce discovers an antidote, conveniently, but finds out that it could kill baby Rebecca and stops Kirk from using it on her. Like always, they fight. Now here's where the story changes just a little bit. After their duel, Kirk swears revenge on Batman and begins to hate him, even though his daughter lives, mind you. But whatever, curse you, Batman, for saving my little girl's life. I am going to hate you for all eternity. And now I'm gonna run away and cry, because that's what my Man-Bat in my story does. In 1981, Kirk Langstrom, having been estranged from his family, is seen almost killing the Batman inside the Batcave. Dr. 13 arrives on the scene because everyone in the Bronze Age knew about the Batcave. It had more guests than the Holiday Inn folks. Oh, and about the Doctor. Let's see if I can explain this right. Dr. 13 is a supernatural detective that wears a suit. And he has goggles similar to the Grey Ghost. There you go. See? Now you know who that character is. During the fight, he tries to help Batman, but Man-Bat thrusts him up against the wall and puts him in the hospital. Bruce then heads to Crime Alley, where Francine and Rebecca now live. She tells Mr. Wayne her sob story, how they lost their fortune after Kirk grew to despise the Batman. Which is funny because he, you know, grew up idolizing him. He lost his job, and all the problems that's happening to the family is not because of his actions, no. Blame it all on the Batman. Why do I have to be the one to take all the blame? Eventually, while taking the serum to go on patrol, because, you know, he's still a hero even though he's, like, blaming Batman for everything, he made a miscalculation in the serum and transformed into a Man-Bat with no human will. Raw animal instinct. Bad. So once he disappears, his family loses everything and they have to move back to Gotham, which I don't get. Why would they move back to the East Coast? Do you live in the East Coast? It's a lot more expensive than the Midwest. I don't want to tell you how much I have to pay for rent, but not only do they move back to the East Coast, no. They move to Crime Alley, the worst place in the DC universe. She had to have other options, people. Who wrote this story? Who let them produce this story? She's practically a single mother living in a war zone, people. Mother of the Year right here. Equipped with this knowledge, Batman vows to save her husband, even though he's, you know, Bruce Wayne and this is pre-crisis, so they've never officially formally met. Hi, I'm Bruce Wayne. Hi, I'm Francine. No, it's more like, oh, Batman, I know who you are. I'm not Batman, I'm Bruce Wayne. Oops. So yeah, her being this nice to a total stranger in Crime Alley is... yeah. I thought she had a PhD or something. I really... I would not have published this. No. I would not have. Be like, yeah, rewrite it. Batman heads back to the Batcave to fight Kirk again, and he wins. Although the antidote doesn't work, shocker. Batman feels defeated even though he won, because in the 70s, Batman actually loses a lot to learn something, which was an interesting dichotomy compared to, you know, Silver Age's OP Batman. I win all the time. 70s Batman, nope, he doesn't win all the time. Werebat then moves into Wayne Manor because, well, you know, he can't stay in the Batcave. Then his next story is actually kind of like a Scooby-Doo mystery starring Batman and Jim as Shaggy and Scooby. The police have been getting reports that Wayne Manor is haunted, and these reports are, of course, coming from homeless people and squatters who keep, you know, staying in the abandoned house because they have nowhere else to live, and they're going to the police saying, hey man, I was, in this place, and there were ghosts, and the police are like, yeah, yep, okay, yep. Are you inebriated? So because the story demands it, Commissioner Gordon, Batman, and Dr. 13 head to investigate stately Wayne Manor. Though Batman goes to make sure they don't accidentally stumble into the Batcave. While they're preoccupied, Batman discovers Man-Bat, and they have a dance battle inside the Batcave. No, I'm just kidding, they fight. Man-Bat flees until his next appearance. I guess they were running out of ideas, because his next appearance, he's hiding out in the Batcave again, and this is when Batman and Robin are moving back to the Batcave after Robin comes back from the university or whatever. And of course, they drive Man-Bat away again, because the writers are like, yeah, let's just use that thing we used 4 issues. I'm totally out of ideas. Don't tell them that. Let's just write something. We got a deadline. I do have to give the writers a little bit of credit, though, because they do something a little bit different with Kirk that we haven't seen before. When he becomes human, we see that he's actually becoming addicted to the serum. He has to have it. He's having withdrawal. He's having all this pain. And the only way to, you know, fix this pain is for more serum. So we haven't really seen this in the character before, and it took almost 10 years for it to happen. But it is some progression. After the Crisis, which, if you don't know what Crisis is, Flash ran really, really fast to try to save the universe and died. Then Wally West became the Flash. There's the Crisis in a nutshell. So after Crisis, Man-Bat's origin and family remain pretty much the same, except he's not really been able to, you know, become human again. It hasn't worn off. Occasionally in the late 80s and early 90s, Kirk is able to be human for a little bit, and during this time, he and Francine get busy and have another child, and it's a boy named Aaron. Sadly, the little kid is born deathly sick too, like his sister, but there's a catch. In order to save his life, Mrs. Langstrom uses the last of her husband's serum to turn the baby into Bat Baby. Though, with the assistance of the Justice League later on, I don't know when, I can't remember, Batman and Martian Manhunter and Ray Palmer are able to make some type of antidote that reverts Bat Boy to normal boy. This twist to the Man-Bat story was courtesy of Chuck Dixon, by the way. So if you know who Chuck Dixon is, you get a thumbs up. Langstroms then survived the Infinite Crisis, which I really don't want to get into that. That was the one where Nightwing was going to die and Superboy died fighting Superboy Prime, and it set up the whole 1 year later arc thing. The only thing that came of interest out of all this crap is Talia uses Francine as bait to get Kirk to turn her assassin ninjas into Werebat commandos. Because why not? The same concept was explored in the recent Son of Batman film, though Deathstroke was the guy, you know, chatting with the family to convince the good doctor to whip up his serum. Still, it had lots of ninja Man-Bats. To be honest, I didn't really follow a lot of this pre-Battle of the Cowl stories, though. They didn't really interest me. In Battle of the Cowl, after Batman's apparent demise, which we all know he was time-traveling with the Doctor, Kirk has nightmares of changing back into Werebat and wiping out his entire family. His bat sense is kind of right, though, because his wife is missing. So, you know, he sets out to find her and becomes the bat creature again because he thought it was a good idea at the time. He runs into Dr. Phosphorus, remember Lightbright, who's been hired by Rupert Thorne to do some stuff to mess with that guy. He reveals that he took Kirk's wife and that Man-Bat doesn't need the serum to change anymore. So kind of like in the Avengers movie, you know, like the Hulk's always angry, Kirk Langstrom can always be a bat creature, but this idea was never really explored in the comics ever. In fact, in Blackest Night, Francine is trying hard to get Kirk to drink her new serum so she can change her husband back forever, or he'll be Man-Bat for eternity. So anyway, his Man-Bat persona actually takes over his mind and prevents Kirk from drinking the new serum. That and, well, you know, at the time, Gotham is dealing with lots of zombies and Grundy at the moment, so I mean, he kind of had to get his priorities straight. Also, they almost kill Francine, so Kirk has to go into full hero mode and, you know, embrace his Man-Bat-ness, but at the cost of his humanity. So there was like a catch. And, you know, that was going to be the last time that DC Comics was going to use this character, but apparently they were like, hey, we could do something else with him. Not really, though. Basically, what happens to Man-Bat is he just becomes another mindless Solomon Grundy. Case in point, when the new Batgirl, Stephanie Brown, meets him in the sewers of Gotham, he's a mindless monster. So, over the course of, I don't know how many books, Nightwing, who's Batman at the time, is able to do something to give Man-Bat his human conscience back. So in one story, like with Red Robin, Man-Bat is under the command of Tim Drake, because Tim Drake is a great field commander. He saves Julie Madison, you know, Bruce Wayne's main squeeze from the 1940s. I think we went over it in a past lore video. I don't really remember. He was trying to protect her from Ra's al Ghul's army because she was targeted for death because she was considered part of the Bat family. And this was the last time that I can really think that we see New Earth Kirk. And, you know, unfortunately he's trapped as a creature, though he still retains his mind thanks to Nightwing and company. Now, the New 52 is another spin on the Kirk Langstrom lore, though. He is married to Francine, and I think they have a kid, but I don't really remember. But he wasn't really developing his serum to get bat powers, which is kind of different. Instead, he was trying to make a way for people to hear better who were deaf using bat DNA. So, you know, he's trying to actually help humanity. A criminal, though, does break into his lab, steals the serum, and tries to turn all of Gotham into giant bat creatures, which is bad PR for his product for helping people. Kirk then tells Batman what the serum originally was going to be used for, and that he can create an antivirus using his blood. Everything seems to be going okay for a while, till Kirk transforms into Werebat in front of Batman and his wife, and they fight. Eventually, though, he does turn back into being human, but like with the 80s, an animated series version of the character, Kirk is shown to have, you know, residual addictive things with the serum, like something's wrong, and the writers actually handle that pretty well, but again, they're borrowing from previous material. Man-Bat did appear in the Forever Evil stuff, although I really didn't read much of it. I think he teamed up with Mr. Freeze to steal something. I don't remember its significance, don't really care. As of today, I don't know what the character's up to in the New 52. Sorry, I don't read the New 52. I've boycotted the New 52. And after this break, we'll chat about Man-Bat and other media. So don't go anywhere. It's time for a shameless plug! And we're back. Kirk Langstrom and Francine appear in the first episode, the very first episode of Batman the Animated Series, on Leather Wings. You too can fulfill your dream of being a high-paid radio personality in your spare time, just like me. Just call the Gotham Institute of Broadcast Arts. That's... yeah, I have way too many episodes memorized. Probably lost some coolness points, didn't I? So, for the most part, this episode is a combination of many 70s and 80s Bat comics that featured Man-Bat. So Paul Dini and the other writing people, you know, took a lot of stuff. You'd be surprised how much stuff they took from the comics. I was shocked. So, yeah. Also, he and Francine are already married, and he's been transforming into the creature for weeks before the episode actually starts. So they've already established that this bat creature has been around causing mischief. Kirk has been stealing various chemicals in order to complete his transformation. Man-Bat also seems to be a separate personality altogether that was created when he started taking the serum. Anyway, because the many thefts and the guard being tossed out the window, you know, Gotham's kind of like, whoa, we need to blame Batman in this. And Gordon's like, that's not really Batman's MO. And Mayor Hill's like, well, I'm giving Bullock full authorization to use whatever force is necessary to stop the Batman. Meanwhile, Batman has no idea what's going on, and he goes to the company that last had the theft so he can, you know, do his detective stuff. He discovers a tape and hairs of the creature, though he's completely oblivious that the police are closing in. Bullock arrives with the SWAT and helicopters, and Batman's like, crap. Shortly after SWAT was already in the building, Gordon arrives and tells Harvey another company has just been robbed, so he's got the wrong suspect. And Harvey just has this look like, I have so much paperwork to do. Inside, the trigger-happy SWAT officer throws a tear gas grenade into a flammable room and it explodes. Batman saves one officer and disappears into the shadow. The thing that really bugs me about this scene, especially as an adult looking back, did the other SWAT guys die? I mean, that explosion wiped out the entire floor, and they're standing like right outside the room. I've seen Die Hard. I've seen little booms kill a lot of goons. That's all I'm saying. The next day, Bruce heads to the Gotham Zoo to speak with one of the mammal experts, Dr. Langstrom. He gets the grumpy father-in-law instead, and he starts to suspect some stuff. Francine arrives and introduces Wayne to her husband. Brucey is, of course, forever alone. Anyway, he plays the recording of the bat sound effect, and Francine has a reaction. Very brief, but Batman notices. He gives them the hair and the tape and then leaves. Back in the Batcave, he checks again, and the computer comes up empty. So he's kind of like, huh. Then the Dr. March guy, I think that's his name, he calls and he says, Mr. Wayne, I just want to tell you that you have bats. Plain brown bats, and maybe starlings, like, fighting for a nest in your chimney. And Alfred says, "I guess we've hit a dead end, sir." And Batman said, "He's lying, and I'm gonna find out why." Heading back to the Gotham Zoo, Batman witnesses Kirk Langstrom transforming into the Man-Bat. And I don't know about you, but when I was little and I first saw this on TV, this scene freaked me out. It was like from a horror movie. His hands, like, did this crazy stuff, and his face and his laughter. And then the screeching sound effect of the bat. Oh man, that gave me nightmares. But in a good way. It was so cool. Anyway, they fight and they take it outside. Eventually, the police chase them. Batman defeats Kirk and takes him back to the Batcave, where he reverts Langstrom back to normal somehow. And then he returns him to his wife, and he's like, you know, it's out of his system for now. So already right there, they're foreshadowing. We're not done with this plot yet. And then they play the music, and it's like, oh man, I love this show. Kirk's next episode is a cameo in Tiger, one of the stupidest episodes of Batman the Animated Series. I hate it, it's so lame. All he does in it is he, like, analyzes some chemical used by Dr. Dorian, you know, that guy from the terrible werewolf episode. Before Batman leaves, he reminds Langstrom not to go off the human being wagon, or, you know, he'll be back. Terror in the Sky is another episode, and I believe it's the last one to feature the Langstroms. Basically, in it, he's experiencing horrific nightmares about becoming the Werebat again, whom, you know, had just actually attacked a bunch of people in the shipping yard at the beginning of the episode. To make matters more complicated for his psyche, the rug by the door is covered in claw marks and fruit. Kirk, you know, he completely freaks out, he heads to his lab, and he just locks himself up there, like, making, you know, his chemistry set stuff to find a cure because he thinks Batman has totally failed. Bats, of course, pays the good old doctor a house call because he's been hearing rumors about the giant bat back, and he calls Alfred. He's like, who does that sound like? And Alfred's like, oh, I remember that guy. I remember this quiz. Man-Bat. And Batman's like, you're right. And the reason for Batman's visit is, of course, to, you know, make sure the guy's not turned into Man-Bat again, which Kirk denies a lot. He's like, not me, dude. Batman uses a DNA thing to confirm it. I don't know, he, like, pricks his finger or something, has some device. And, you know, he's like, I'll see if this is totally out of your system or not. Francine sees the two chatting and gets the wrong idea and says she's leaving him because she wants nothing to do with Man-Bat. Batman says he'll be back in his worst Arnold impression ever. On his way out, though, Man-Bat attacks him. Convenient! And the fight is super censored because this is a Saturday morning cartoon on Fox Kids. Man-Bat just throws like 4 or 5 trash cans and pushes them in the walls. But the thing is, if the censors were concerned about the violence, remember the batarang Batman throws? Yeah, it cuts through stone after he throws it at her. So it's kind of like, yeah, that's not violent. I mean, if that batarang actually would have hit Man-Bat, that might have caused a lot more problems than a punch. I'm just saying, censors. Sometimes they don't really, you know what they're doing. After luring Man-Bat or Werebat away from people near the subway track, the Werebat uses a train to actually wreck Batman's bike. So now it just got personal. Later that day, he goes to shake down March, Francine's dad, to expose him as a creature, and March even points a gun at him like, okay, bring it on, Batman. Maybe I am the creature, maybe I'm not, haha. Though it turns out that actually his daughter is the new Werebat. Batman tells March to destroy the serum once and for all this time, asking him if his work is really worth more than Francine's life. Elsewhere, Mrs. Langstrom is on a plane bound for Chicago when she bumps into Kirk, who is stalking her because he loves her. She's happy to hear that he isn't the Man-Bat, but excuses herself to the restroom because she feels sick. And then inside, guess what? She turns into She-Bat. Also nearly causes a plane to crash and burst into flames when she, depressurizes it by knocking out the door, which causes her husband to fall out and, She does save her husband. She has an instinct, okay, I have a connection to this guy, so I'm going to save him. But the plane, that's fine. But Batman comes in with the Batwing, and the plane is fine. Eventually, she's forced to land and must fight Batman, because that's what always happens when Batman and Man-Bats meet. There's fighting involved. He succeeds in saving her, but she actually knocks him out in the process. But this is due to her being stronger because of the new serum. Batman leaves the two up on the bridge in the freezing snow, by the way, by themselves with no way down because he didn't want them to see him cry. Because he will forever be alone, fighting crime, alone. The Batman, the 2004 cartoon, transformed Kirk Langstrom into another villain made possible by the Wayne Foundation. Kirk, of course, worked for Wayne, and his funding was cut off New 52 style. This Kirk actually wanted to be feared like the Batman and gain power, so he drinks the serum in front of the CEO, Bruce Wayne, and then tries to kill him. Of course, his transformations are only temporary in this series, and the fight doesn't last long with Batman, and he ends up in Arkham. In another episode, Penguin tries to make a device to control birds. Instead, it controls bats because Penguin is dumb. Bits of the formula inside Langstrom activate, and Penguin gains control of the werebat. Like in the comics, this episode shows that Langstrom's serum is not needed for him to transform. Because he did it once, he has the ability to do it again. After being released from Arkham, I don't remember what episode it is, Langstrom met a nice gal, probably Francine, she's never mentioned, and he got a job at the Gotham University as a zoologist. There, Batman asks for his help to stop the terrible trio from turning Gotham into animal creatures, and Kirk actually helps out. Recently, on Cartoon Network, the werebat appears in a few episodes of Beware the Batman. Well, at least Kirk does. Which surprised me, actually. Kirk is working in his lab to cure a type of disease, so again, he's trying to do something good with his life, when Professor Pig raids his lab at gunpoint and forces him to take a very bad serum, and of course he becomes Man-Bat. Mr. Toad then puts a collar around Kirk, allowing Pig to control him, and makes him do all kinds of crazy stuff. Like the 90s comics, Man-Bat can't revert to his human form, though. In the final episode of the show, by the way, Man-Bat becomes a Batman's outsiders. According to the show's creators, he would have had a bigger role in Season 2, but yeah, that's not gonna happen. But that's not even the amazing stuff. The really, really cool stuff that I learned today, which I'm psyched out of my mind about, is Kirk Langstrom was set to appear in Batman Returns instead of the Penguin. This is true. This is all true, and this is so exciting. I never knew this. His tragic tale would have ended in, well, you know, tragedy, and Francine and Rebecca would have both been in the film. This information was revealed like a little while ago when Keaton was talking about Batman and Burton was talking about Batman, and Keaton said, oh yeah, I'll be in another Batman film. Only if, you know, if Burton makes it. If somebody else makes it, forget it, pal. Now, the whole Man-Bat thing was part of the original Robin script from the second film, and I remember hearing bits and pieces of this, but never the full details about what it was going to be like. Of course, most of these ideas were moved to Batman 3 that Keaton was still planned to reprise his role for, and Martin Short, the guy from Three Amigos, was the actor Burton had envisioned to play Man-Bat. Now, what's unique about this approach is Martin Short would have portrayed the character close to his original origin, you know, featuring a guy who loves superheroes and wanted to become one, but his transformation would have tragic consequences to his mind and, you know, all the things that he wanted. So, I mean, it would have that Tim Burton style, but, you know, it just, oh man, I wish we could have seen this. I wish this would have happened. I've heard Warner Brothers say that the movie was actually too dark, and I'm like, have you seen Batman Returns? Yeah. Rumor has it, though, that Man-Bat will appear in DC's next Batman film, along with setting up possibly an under-the-hood type arc, or so my sources say. And, you know, if Jason Todd really is dead in the Batman vs. Superman movie, you know, his costume being on display and it's not Dick, then they get major thumbs up for, you know, starting the waves there. So you keep the rumors coming, makes me happy. As for animated films, I already talked about his appearance in The Son of Batman, or Batman and Son, whatever. In the video game world, Man-Bat appeared in the SNES Adventures of Batman and Robin in the Gauntlet stage. What's funny, though, and I'll never forget this because it was weird, he actually has written text, meaning he's speaking, which in the show, if you remember, he didn't speak at all. He wasn't capable of human thought or, you know, speech. He was also playable in LEGO Batman 1 through 2, and will appear in LEGO Batman 3, which I talked about in a news video a while ago. You can go watch it if you want. And with that, I think we're done. Whew. I think we've covered pretty much everything I know about Man-Bat, and now you know it too! Thanks for watching another hashtag Arkham Wednesday /awesome. If you have a character you'd like me to discuss next week, leave your comment below, and I will do my best to make it happen. Also, if you learned something from this video, bat punch the like button and subscribe already. I'll see you all on the next Road to Arkham series here on the Nightwing 01 channel.